joined here today by another great guest of ours, also named Chris. Uh, we'll have to figure out how to make a little differentiation for the audience listeners today. But I just go by Richard today, and Chris is our main show space. But he's from Conversion Alchemy, and he's been in the website marketing ecosystem for a long time, helping folks build beautiful websites and experiences that lead to conversions, right? And that's the thing that really matters, right? Like, why do people build a website, right? We want people to come to or find us, purchase our services or products, and then ultimately get to those outcomes that we want as a business owner. So I thank you so much for coming on. This is a great episode and the kickoff to Growth Lab's first episode of the year 2026. So I appreciate you coming on.
Oh, I'm honored. Yeah, thank you so much, Chris. I'm excited to be here and talk about all of this. Super interesting, especially now with AI and all of that. I think
Yeah.
conversions is something that it's on the minds of a lot of people.
Yeah, it's dominating the conversation, right? Everyone that we talk to, whether it's clients, partners, everyone's asking those same questions, right? How do we turn these commoditized activities that AI is starting to do into actual value streams where
Yeah.
we're actually giving it to our clients, right? So
Mm.
yeah, would love to jump in really just for our audience. You tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to starting your business here today.
Yeah, so I have a fairly unique, different background from a lot of people that work in digital marketing. So I was a software engineer in industrial automation for 10 years back in Italy, where I'm from. And then I slowly, gradually transitioned into copywriting, mostly because I wanted to tour more with my band. So I started looking online for what to learn, how to make money online.
Hmm.
And I stumbled at some point on copywriting, and I was instantly hooked by the psychology behind it, the decision making aspect, understanding how people think, what makes them tick. Super passionate about all of that. And so, yeah, I did that a couple of years on my own. Then I transitioned into more of a UX role as a usability testing startup, where I learned a lot about, again, UX. But also the psychology of interaction and understanding how people interact with website interfaces or apps. And then after that, I went back again on my own. That's when I founded the Conversion Alchemy, which is my current business, where I'm basically integrating everything that I've learned in the past, which is the UX, the conversion copywriting, along also with the strategy that's before all of that, which means positioning strategy and messaging strategy. So, how do you go from first understanding your customers to clarifying and aligning everyone inside your team on who you are, what you do,
Oh
and how
yeah,
you do it
that's
uniquely,
super big
and
skills.
then how you translate that into messaging and copy, right? So this is pretty much an overview. The copy that I write is conversion copy. It's website copy, sales collaterals, emails, and sometimes we might work on paid ads, creative, but it's mostly around the actual conversion
Hmm.
assets.
Yeah, no, that's incredibly important, and I love the fact that we're having this conversation because we follow some very similar upbringings in terms of our career trajectory. I started off with manufacturing engineering in similar space, and my love was of products, right? And
Mm,
the tactile feel of it, of the
yeah,
value you get of it, right? And so growing up with all these different technologies, you start to understand, okay, what is true value versus what's just on paper, right? and
yeah,
uh and then I see, yeah, we sort of realize, okay, products don't just not limited to a hardware space, right? Products extend to that digital space, and how to communicate those products completely different, right?
yeah,
In a piece
exactly.
of itself, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So I really love the fact that you help people streamline that messaging and all their value propositions, because that's a lot of things that early startup businesses are missing. It's
Mm.
like, are you, like you said, are you aligned internally with the vision is, and then can you communicate that externally, so that it's meaningful,
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
actually drives some of the marketing and business that you need. So uh, all of that said, to my next question, really wanted to get an understanding of, you know, how have you seen conversions evolve, right? Because you know we've gone from using a few different channels. Maybe you had an email list, maybe you had a social media, to now it's very much a multi-channel outreach effort in order to really start to capture customers in a meaningful way.
Mm.
Tell me a little bit more about how you've seen sort of the marketing evolution evolve over the last 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, yeah. The last 5 to 10 years, I think, but I mean, especially the last 2 3 years with AI, things changed completely. So now,
Yeah.
if you before we were as a messaging strategist copywriter, I used to always think, okay, let's understand our audience's awareness. So, what do they know about our market, our products, our solutions, and how much do
Mhm.
they know? The sophistication, right? So that we can understand their language, mirror it to them. Now the thing is, okay, even if you understand their starting point of awareness and sophistication, so how much they know when you actually learn about them, by the point that they find out a bit about you or land on your site, that changed again, because right now the first thing they probably going to do is search on an LLM like ChatGPT or Gemini or
Yeah.
Perplexity. They already starting to get information from that's basically collated, curated from those LLMs, right? So in a different way, maybe from how you would phrase it. Then they probably go on communities like Reddit, more trusted
Right.
communities, just because right now they get the information, they start forming an idea of the market categories, but then they want more trusted opinion, right? So they go on Reddit, get opinions. They might go on G2 for to read through reviews, and then
Mhm.
probably right towards the end they might land on your site and get your messaging. So how do you actually message to them by that point where so much stuff has already happened? And it's a lot about understanding. To me, it's always been, I think it's a thing that will never change, understanding the before, during, and after of their buying journey, right? So the jobs to be done, understanding how they
Yeah.
go through the purchase decision, and that's all about studying how they make decisions, interviewing people, speaking to them, asking the right questions, which then tell you how to message on the website. Which I think right now your website messaging is more, it's supposed to be almost like a sales call, sales conversation, rather than
Mhm.
just purely marketing messaging.
Right.
Because again, you're arriving to them at a later point, so you need to be super specific with use cases, their dedicated persona page, a distinct point of view. So I think it's way more like a sales conversation right now.
Yeah, you hit on some very important topics, especially here at UX Bright when we help folks with either building the digital experiences, where the understanding of your ideal client profile, psychology, what their desires, their fears are, what are the painkiller sort of language you could use versus some type of placebo.
Yeah.
Those are really some of the things where it's a reframe of thinking, right? From a high level, because I used to, I'm sure you can attest to this. You see a business website, they go to just listing out the ballpark of services that they have, right?
Yeah.
And then the customer comes on the website and they're like, okay, I don't really know
Yeah,
exactly what I'm
exactly.
looking for, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Versus an outcome based conversion page, is going to be focused on, like you said, one single persona. It's going to have copy that's super specific to their pain points.
Mhm.
And, that all the language and marketing is tied around that persona psychology.
Yeah.
Just talk a little bit more about the how that shift, right? Because just understanding your customer, I think, is half the battle.
Mm.
And then
Yeah.
executing and knowing what to do after comes pretty
Yeah,
easy.
totally. And I'm also curious to hear how you guys do it. But uh, just in short, my methodology for understanding customers is basically going. I look at it in three lenses, right? So there's
Hmm.
internal lens where I try to understand my client's team. So I speak to product marketing, sales,
Yeah.
support, the founder, and I try to extract their perspective, their point of view, their knowledge of the product, so that I can basically become one of them, but still having that outside perspective that I carry when I start working with them. The second area that I look at is the external research, which is understanding the prospect
That's good.
side, so before becoming a customer and after the customer side, so that we can map out that transformation that needs to happen, and that basically jobs to be done, interviews, decision making,
Yeah.
study. And the third one is basically the market, right? So we want to understand, okay, what's the landscape that we are playing in? Who are the competitors? How are they messaging? I like to deconstruct a lot of the website messaging from competitors' websites as well. So
Yeah,
understanding, okay,
that's a great one.
based on their copy, who are they targeting? How are they targeting them? What kind of language do they use? And how can we position differently in a unique way so that we also stand out from what competitors are doing on their websites. So yeah, those three areas are typically the ones that I work on. I also do some user experience research work, but to me is mostly user experience of how users consume copy rather than user experience
Yeah.
on product side, right, and design. So yeah, I'm also curious how you guys do it, because I like to nerd about this stuff.
Yeah, understandable, and I love the way that you're going about it too, because it's no longer it's data driven product marketing, right? Like
Yeah,
this
yeah, yeah.
isn't just like pulling off of feelings or a vibe, as we so
Mm.
call it.
Vibe marketing.
Yeah, that's a vibe. I think they like it. Like no, like most reasonable marketing teams are using real data, right?
Yeah,
No,
the other
go ahead. Yeah,
the other mistake that I see, other than vibe vibe stuffing stuff, it's
oh yeah,
is that sometimes a lot of marketing teams, they think that they're doing research for decision making marketing, but they are doing more like product development research. So they ask what people,
hmm,
what do you like about this product, what would you like to see, and to them that's considered research, but it doesn't actually go into the decision making process of how people
mm,
think, right? So it's important to make that
yeah.
distinction.
No, that's an important piece, and I'll spend some time on that. We'll revisit that piece too, right? But to your point, question earlier around our process. For us, it usually start after we decide we want to engage with someone. We usually start with mapping out what is their customer buyer journey, right? And so we may have a couple conversations with their marketing team, help them map out. Okay, how have you historically got clients? Which channels work best for you, and so once we have a good analysis of like, okay, we do, it's called basically our UX and conversion audit. We
Mm,
basically, like, it's similar to you, we go into the deep end, kind of figure out what's going on, what's working, what's not. Look at some of the hard data too, if they've got analytics like Google or uh, kiss metrics, anything like that. And then we take that cumulative report. We say, okay, here are the high opportunity, low hanging fruit, things that we can accomplish in order to improve conversions. So oftentimes it may be, we talk with an e-commerce firm, they're seeing, hey, my conversions for my checkout process isn't as high, right? So we may look at it, that specific section, and maybe it's just as simple as a redesign, right? Sometimes that
yeah,
ultimately unblocks the user friction, right, and all that
yeah,
unnecessary
yeah.
flow, and the simplicity, right? I think our company is called UX, right, for the simple fact that we believe user experience is at the core of everything, right?
Mm,
The marketing, the product,
yeah,
operations, right, all of it's going to play into, do I like this product, and will I buy from you again, and will I tell my friends,
exactly.
right?
Yeah,
Kind of
and it's
going
interesting
down.
because I actually started calling, instead of conversion rate optimization, I started
Yeah.
calling it conversion experience optimization, which I think puts you
Mm,
way more into the frame of, rather than optimizing for something selfish like conversion rates
yeah,
as a
just
metric for us, let's optimize for the experience of the conversion, the whole environment, and then customers and conversion rates will come. That's the point.
So what you're saying is that's the real CEO, right? Like
Yeah.
focusing on that core experience, and I think that's absolutely, I love that term because I think that's the mind shift that we need to switch from, right? Because if we focus on just on conversions,
Mm,
you're right. It may be completely disaligned with what the experience may be, right? Just to kind of take us out of a little left field, just to bring something home. Uh, you know, Windows 11 is facing
mm.
big criticism right now because of their handling of how they're deploying Windows 11 with
Oh, I had no idea.
forced updates, injecting Copilot into the Notepad, right?
Oh, wow.
If you're not, you can't use Notepad if you're not signed in the Microsoft Cloud. I'm
Oh,
sorry,
that's
buddy.
crazy. I had no idea.
Yeah, and you're starting to see this exodus of people switching from Windows to
Mm.
now Linux. Now,
Ah.
I've been a Linux supporter for a long time, but I've used
Yeah.
Windows because I'm a big gamer and all that. But but now Linux can support all of the advanced stuff that Windows
Yeah.
can, and
There
now
you go.
the landscape is shifting, and the cloud providers are basically saying, no, we don't want Windows Enterprise. No, we don't want. I don't want to have to be forced to change all my deployments
Mm.
because some guy at Microsoft decided they wanted to ship a bug update out on a Friday, right? So they're the experience, even from like big tech perspective, right? We could see that's ultimately affecting their bottom line, and
Mm.
I'm sure we can concur similarly from SMB
Yeah.
side too,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
your product experience is going to dictate whether or not your go to market success is going to be uh
Yeah.
a splash or big hurricane,
Yeah, and it's probably, I mean, this huge corporation, I mean, I wouldn't even think or imagine that they try to put themselves in customers' shoes. I mean, at those levels, it's
Yeah,
way more about profits rather than anything else,
yeah,
probably. But yeah, it's like for companies that still can focus on, like, put yourself in your customer's shoes and everything else will work, I think.
yeah. 100%. So I want to talk to you then, with experiences in mind, we try to tie, okay, the product experience to the buyer purchase journey. And so just curious of, on your end of like, how have you seen companies go about uh, their own discovery process? Because I think that's
Mm-hmm.
the biggest problem that a lot of people have is like, okay, I can make some things that update on the website and move a few social posts, but like from a go to market perspective, like there's got to be more to it, right? Tell me a little
Mm-hmm.
bit more about kind of like what you've seen that's worked successfully in marketing, at least from 2025, 2026, and then the stuff that just doesn't
Yeah.
work anymore.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I always say first you have to think kind of your foundations, right? If
Yeah.
you don't have a strong positioning, strong messaging framework, then everything else is going to be harder. And even before that, research, right? So
Yeah.
first, like, do your research or do the minimum viable research that you can do, and then start working on your positioning strategy inside the company, so understanding what you do, who you do it for, and how you do it better, uniquely, differently. Then how do you translate that into messaging strategy? So what's especially now, it's going to be, yes, about value messaging like you talked about before, but
Hmm.
also it's also way more about your distinct point of view, and I think your unique perspective on the industry and the
Yeah,
market.
that's a good point.
And so when I work on a strategic narrative, which basically it's your point of view explained to your audience, I always like to ask a couple of good questions that anyone inside a company can ask themselves between teams,
Yeah.
especially the founder if it's still close to the product. I ask questions like, what drives you crazy about your industry? Or what
Yeah.
are your customers doing wrong? And what's the solution? How do you solve it? Or what are competitors doing wrong? Or what are some lies or myths that you see spread around in the industry that you want to kind of address that are not addressed yet? So those
Right.
are all good questions that you can ask yourself to come up with a specific point of view that you can use then for your copy, your sales decks, because sales decks should start from, okay, this is my point of view, these are the common alternatives and how people normally solve this stuff, and this is
Yeah.
how I turn that point of view into actually a better solution for you. So your point of view basically becomes the source of differentiation for all your go-to-market assets. So
Yeah, that's a
once
good point. That is a
once
good
you have
point.
that
And
nailed, I think that's super important, especially now, because if you think about it, we said, okay, AI is going to crawl your website and show people its own version of your value proposition. So
mm,
how do you stand out? Features, maybe a lot of competitors already have similar features, so those are not going to save you unless you have something completely different and unique and innovative.
yeah,
What's going to save you is probably going to be your point of view and who you are actually helping differently, right? So that's going to be the differentiating factor, I think. Point of view along with value messaging. That's how I think now you can
Chris,
get
are you saying
attention.
that I have to put down the coding and actually go talk to some people
Yeah,
from a
yeah.
marketing perspective? Oh,
Yes.
snap. Okay. Yeah, no, that's actually a really great point, right? Because
Yeah.
yeah, I've started to tell this to our clients as well too. Like your personal brand is almost synonymous with the business, right? Like
Mm,
you as a human being live beyond the business. So
yeah.
whatever you attach yourself in the personal life, that's why people a lot of times invest in their personal brand, because you could have one vertical launch it to another one and still be associated with me as a human being. But some people, they think, okay, my messaging should come from we, and I'm only a team of one. Right? Like uh no, it's okay to be personable, right? Authentic, kind of build in public, right? Showcase vulnerability in
Mm,
certain ways that spark conversations that your market might be vulnerable about as well too. I found that that's cut through all the noise, right?
yeah. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, especially
And
if you start hanging out with your community, you show them that you're one of them, right? So
mhm. Yeah, 100%. Let's talk a little less, methodology and framework. Let's talk tools, man. What's in your conversion tool
yeah.
stack? Obviously, without spilling all the beans, but what are you finding
Yeah.
that's useful?
Yeah, I mean,
Nowadays?
if we talk about we were talking about like conversion and moving from the conversion side, marketing side to the product side. One thing that I've actually recently done for a client was user testing or message testing, right? So there's
Yeah.
lots of those that a lot of people don't use, I think. User testing, yeah, some product designer, UX designers use it for product decisions, but I think it can be super helpful for messaging or understanding in
Mm,
general how people interact with your site. And yes, for B2C, it's easier to find participants probably. So, because obviously B2B, it's a bit harder to find executives or people who actually take
yeah.
tests. But still, I think if you can find someone who's somehow close your target audience, you can get pretty good insights. So in my case, I mean, this was a B2C side of things for this company. So we did the jobs to be done research, but then we also wanted to see, okay, how do these guys go through? There was a sign up process, a huge form with 10 steps and loads of questions, and we wanted to see, okay, where do they get stuck during the process? Where do they find friction? So we ran usability testing, right? And we
Yeah.
used, I think for that we used the tool called User Feel, which is
Okay.
pretty easy to
Nice.
use and also gives you nice video snapshots that you can share with people. So you can basically say, okay, like these are the points where I saw people getting stuck, right? So
Yeah,
it's
that's
easy to,
super super helpful.
yeah. Another usability testing that I've used, but also I've done some tree testing to improve labels and copy in a pretty big nav menu. There was UX
Mm,
tweak. UX
yeah.
tweak was
Okay.
another one that does a
UX
lot of
Suite.
stuff.
That's a good one.
Um, then what else? I mean, I use Hotjar for heat maps,
Okay, yeah, I
and
was just gonna say, yeah, there
yeah,
are. I'm sure there's probably a few from the.
yeah, yeah,
I'm sure there's a few from the user testing and research and
yeah, yeah.
analysis standpoint. Are you using anything for your actual marketing stack
Yeah.
that's useful for copy?
Marketing, I mean, yeah, I use AI, a lot of AI tools, different AI tools. I try to do like in stages. So first,
Yeah.
I like to start like the overall high level brainstorming with something like Gemini because it's got a bigger context window, which I think now is two
Interesting.
million tokens. So I can
Wait,
feed
2 million
lots.
tokens as a context window?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so that means you could throw in a whole bunch, right?
Yeah, yeah. I usually throw in all interview transcripts, survey analysis,
Mm,
everything that I have. Even like starting from my initial talks with the client, so it has all the context of the whole project, and I
yeah,
keep it updated as I go. Right, so it, it literally becomes like an assistant. But
nice,
at a
nice.
certain point, when it comes to actually doing the strategy work, I like to use Claude for the writing part, just because it's way better, I think, at writing.
Okay, I've heard that in
And
several different occasions. Yeah.
yeah, but I don't use the commercial Claude app mostly because of the
Mm,
limits that you get. I would basically encounter like stumble on the limits every hour, every day. So I use it through the API with this other app that's called Juma AI,
mm,
Juma.ai, Juma, and yeah, you can basically plug it to APIs of all the typical AI LLM models. You can pick the model that you want, and it's great because then with that I can use Claude without the limits. Obviously, I pay per token, but I'm good with it.
yeah.
And yeah, from that point, when it comes to the strategy and then the writing of the copy, I transition into those tools because it becomes more about the quality, at least for a first draft, than the actual quantity of data that I want to analyze. So I transition to those, and then when it comes to editing, it's mostly just me going through the copy, doing the manual editing, which I think is still a job of a
Yeah.
copywriter.
There's still a human in the loop, right? Like
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
100%. Yeah.
definitely. Like even when it comes to research, even though I analyze, maybe I have 500 reviews scraped from G2, I still like to go through at least 100, 150, 200 because I want to absorb that sense of, okay, these are the patterns that I'm seeing. At a certain point, I stop seeing new patterns, which means, okay, I got enough, and I can
Yeah.
delegate it to the AI and then cross reference what I know with what the AI is understanding.
Yeah, no, those are some pretty solid tool sets. Some other ones I'll just some favorable mentions. Some of the ones we use. Just was a real quick one. Post Hog for pure
Oh yeah,
digital product analysis. We've been using
analytics.
that. It's a nice open source. They got a generous free plan. It's been solid. At
Hmm.
least for understanding maybe session recordings, drop off analysis,
Yeah,
stuff like that. So it does get more into the weeds if you're like big
yeah,
analysis person and you want to understand, okay, what everything is going on.
yeah,
but but
yeah.
for some people that might be, if you're executive, maybe you don't need that much info. But it's perfect for product teams, I would say.
Nice. Yeah.
So Postdog. There's another one that we've used. If you're a SMB, let's just say you have a WordPress site or something. I usually install this plugin on the site. It's called UX Sniff. It's
Ah, yeah, I've heard
basically,
of it.
yeah, it's basically the same concepts. It's post
Mm.
hog, add a tracker, record,
Mm.
and some of those ideas. But
I've used Microsoft Clarity, I think, just because it's free.
that's
Yeah,
another good one too. I've personally never used it, but um,
yeah. It's nice, easy. It
pretty
doesn't go
pretty
super
solid.
deep. Probably it doesn't go as deep probably as Post Hog, like in product
Yeah.
stuff. Probably doesn't do it, but yeah, it's
Yeah,
good.
and I think that's important too, right? As an agency or just a general marketing team, understanding like which metrics are super important for you, and then
Mm.
finding the right tool to help you
Yeah.
actually track the analytics, right? Because me personally, I don't know if you've seen this. I think most people get lost in the wide breadth that is Google Analytics, right? And
Oh
then
yeah, yeah.
if you
Especially
don't have a
GA4.
dedicated, yeah, if you don't
Uh,
have a dedicated get Google Analytics person, they don't know how to tie it to your emails,
Yeah,
tracking events, conversions.
yeah,
All that gets pretty complicated pretty quickly.
yeah. The
So
pixels.
yeah, but just coming back to just conversion alchemy real quick. Um, heading into 2026, what's kind of on the horizon for you? What's sort of the big things you guys got planned out? Would love to hear from your perspective.
Yeah, definitely understanding a lot more and constantly keeping in the loop of how people use AI and how they get educated with AI. So there's a lot of, even
Mm,
though I don't work on AGO or AIO or whatever it's called right now, like understanding basically how people find you through AI and LLMs. I still like to get interested into all that stuff because that's basically the stage before what I do. And so I want to understand,
mm,
okay, how do people get to where I want them to be so that I can understand what's their mental state, what's their, yeah, what's their mental model when they get to the work that I need to start doing, and so that I can actually address them better. So that's something that I'm constantly keeping in the loop, but also all the updates on AI in general, especially when it comes to agents now. I don't want to install. I don't know if you heard about the current mess with Malt Book and
yeah,
Wallbot and
actually,
all
I
that
have.
stuff.
Can we talk about that for a second?
Oh my god, I
The
haven't tried
craziness
it.
that is malt book.
I haven't tried it because I don't want to risk it controlling my life. But yeah, it's basically this guy uh, came up with this agent, open source agent, which basically can do stuff for you online. And a lot of people install it on
Right.
their own, like a separate computer, like a Mac Mini, and you can message it on WhatsApp, and it can go do things like book events for you, send emails, send messages, call people, even, which is pretty freaky. And
Right.
so there's these agents, and then there's another guy that's created his own one of these agents and thought, okay, now that I have this agent, why don't I give it the freedom to maybe join a community and meet other of these agents, right? Since they're so
Uh-huh.
independent. And so he basically created
I,
this, it's the Reddit for AI
yeah, the social
agents. And
network of AI agents.
yes,
Craziest thing
exactly. And
ever.
now it's like in 5 days, it got to more than 1 million agents subscribed, and they're creating their own religion. They're coming up with a new language.
Wow.
They're doing crazy stuff. I mean, it's still a bit sketchy because a lot of these agents might be still controlled by humans, and humans might tell them, okay, go
Yeah.
there and promote my product. So there's still some like control under it, and it's supervised. So I
Yeah.
don't think
I
it's gonna be wild, but still pretty
well,
crazy.
yeah, it's already been some crazy security implications and some hacks,
Yeah.
right? I actually just made a LinkedIn post on this yesterday. There was a individual who put their Moltbot on a Mac Mini. They
Uh,
opened the Mac Mini up to the internet. They connected all of their unsecured accounts, like their WhatsApp chat, and accounts and stuff like that. And there is no governance, identity management. It's just a database full of API tokens,
mm.
right? And that person got hacked, and they
Oh my god.
basically they basically got DDoS about 7,000 times, and their whole identity is pretty much in shambles. And so, part of my post was like, I love speed and convenience like the next person, but at what point do we stop and say, okay, this we've got to have security and protect what's important, right? Because
Yeah.
convenience isn't worth this, right? You losing your social life or your financial life because I've seen it happen, and even before AI.
Yeah.
Company programmers would hack into a business server, steal your repo code and database, and say, "Hey, here's a ransom notice,
Uh,
and if you don't
oof.
give it back, I've seen this true as God. I've seen
Yeah.
this happen and had to help consult some folks on this, and so When I
Yeah.
see this this now, I'm just like, have we forgotten all the security practices from the last 10 to 20 years?
Yeah,
We're
I
just like
think
out the window. What's
I
going
think
on?
the convenience is like so alluring that a lot of people like completely forego all the past mistakes, and it's crazy if you think about it, because what does it take you to wait, I don't know, a month, and it's probably gonna be patched because it's so fast that, I mean, in a month or a couple of weeks it's already gonna be fixed. So wait, rather
Yeah,
than just yeah, I mean, I like to jump on new tools when it's like simple stuff, right? Maybe a new writing tool or a new testing
yeah,
tool. Okay, it makes sense, but not something that controls my entire life.
yeah. I think that's yeah, and I think there's in the AI community, I think there's almost two camps, right? There's the super intelligence, artificial general intelligence is here, bow
Yeah,
to our AI, kind of overlords,
AGI.
kind of, kind of people, and then we have the never AI folks, right?
Yeah.
And I think for me personally, I'm starting to be somewhere in the middle where,
Hmm.
okay, AI will have it has its use cases from insights, research, data retrieval, those things. Sure, no problem, and it help you detect patterns. Cool.
Yeah.
But from in terms of an empirical thinking machine, it's not going to be replacing developer jobs like Silicon Valley was dictating. And
Totally.
what and yeah, I'm sure what we're starting to see now, right, is all the people that fired their marketing teams because they thought, oh, it's going to just have this AI agent do it. Now they're going to be paying a rehire tax
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Yeah,
you know
exactly. And you made a great point about the two different camps. It's one thing that I'm seeing, especially another field that I'm pretty interested in, which is the field of synthetic research. So basically,
Mhm.
simulating your customers to run research. Right? There's a lot of platforms that are popping up. I started doing that on my own, just super simple, bare bones AI personas like 2 years ago with ChatGPT 3.5. They sucked, but at
Yeah,
least it was a good learning experience. But now what I'm seeing is that a lot of people are either, yes, let's use AI personas for everything, or there are people who are, no, AI personas can't work. But there's no real people who actually are in between and do things in a more sensical way. Like what I'm
mhm,
saying is, still do your own human research, right? Conduct your
right.
research, your
Mhm.
interviews, and then use that to with AI personas to augment whatever you have. Like I just
Yeah.
literally did it yesterday for a client. The problem was that we have to go to market for a persona that's more of a like an early customer persona, right? They don't have a lot of data, but they know that they
Yeah.
are having the first sales conversations with them. We were able to do two interviews, right? So that's not a lot of data. We typically do at least 10, 15 interviews, maybe surveys. And so what did we do? We used that data to create like an early customer persona, and then we use synthetic research to kind of complement, fill in the gaps of what at
Mm,
least we know, and cross-referencing with what we know from other personas that they have. And at least now we can start going to market with those data with initial messaging, rather than just guessing and going blind into
yeah.
it, right? so
That's
so
that's a great
there's a
point.
there's a middle point, I think, that you can actually do
Yeah.
things better.
And that plays to the point of the underlying technologies of AI because I've been in IT and software space for a long time. It's a statistical machine.
Yeah.
Each of the word tokens are looking for, okay, customer put in a prompt for a cat story. Which words are the highest weight in terms of
Yeah.
creating the cat story? It's not from its core, but it's good from that statistical analysis, understanding pattern recognition, and those type of pieces. So I concur with you on that. I think being somewhere in the middle is probably the most pragmatic
Yeah.
sort of thing you could do. So, um, wanted to round us out. This was a fantastic organization, or fantastic show just in general. But you know, wanted to get an idea of who's the best people to get in touch with. For our Conversion Academy. Who are you looking to serve best?
Yeah, mostly I work with the growth stage B2B SaaS companies. Typically, they are product market fit. Maybe they are at a point where they see that they need to reposition themselves, or they never really done proper positioning messaging exercise, and they kind of guessed. So we help them with the research, with the strategy, and then turning all of that into copy.
Hmm.
Or we work a lot with private equity firms sometimes, which typically they acquire new SaaS companies, then they need to do the whole go to market again from kind of scratch almost. And so those are typically the companies that we work with.
No, that's great. And I think that's an important aspect to really, you know, get in a company during their foundational time. So, when they're moving fast, they're moving with clarity, and
Yeah, yeah,
that's and that and you can't sometimes you can't put a price on that because that
yeah,
that
yeah,
that ultimately means new unlocked revenue, new partnership deals, new ways of operating. Right?
yeah.
I think it's such
Yeah,
a big value.
it's if you don't do it, it's a price they're gonna pay after. I think later down the
Yeah.
line.
Yeah, go pay for a one of these days. Might as well
Yeah,
get started now, right? So,
yeah, yeah.
what's the best place we can get in touch with you, Chris?
Yeah, you can find me at conversionalchemy.net, where I have a newsletter, or on LinkedIn. Yeah, that's mostly where I hang out.
Well, you heard it from the man himself, my doppelganger, Chris from Conversion Academy. Uh, we appreciate you having coming out for the show and joining the Growth Lab show, where we're all about community entrepreneurs and product growth operators. So, whatever it takes to scale and grow, that's what we want to feature. So, we appreciate you coming out. And just to round out for today's show, as a final announcement, um, UX Bright right now we're in the process of opening a closed beta invite for a new go to market suite that we've been putting together. So in lieu of this conversation, we talked a lot about how user experience captures a lot of that data. So how do we take that data and make it into a marketable campaign, right? And so we built a go-to-market suite over the last since like August of last year. We've been putting this together, and effectively add our tracking tool. You can track the different user journeys, similar to some of those post hog and other analytics
Mm,
pieces, but we take that data and you can connect your entire marketing stack. And so
mm,
what you'll be able to do is from that user data, get go to market recommendations on conversion, what's going on, and then be able to draft very quickly campaigns based off of that copy, that either from an SEO perspective people are searching for, or what are people doing in the experience. So this has been a culmination of something, as an agency, UX Bright, been doing agency work since 2020, and we work with over 200 plus clients. And the idea is that we've been helping everyone build some type of product, but then the next step usually after is, how do I market this, Chris? Right?
nice.
and
Yeah,
and and we wanted to make it to where product marketing becomes more streamlined, and SMB teams can have an ability to launch quickly with these new advances in technologies. So we're super excited to have you. Want to definitely see you trying us out a little bit on that piece. I'm sure you have some great user feedback for me.
I'd love to. Yeah, yeah. Send it over
But
when you have it.
yeah, you got it. But yeah, we again appreciate you coming out. And this has been the Growth Labs podcast with your host Christopher Richards and Chris from Conversion Academy. Thank you so much for coming out, and have a blessed day.
Thank you.